It's back-to-back street circuits as we head to the humid streets of Marina Bay. It's time for round 18 at Singapore. The Marina Bay street circuit is 62 laps of a 4.90 kilometer long circuit that offers up an incredible challenge to the drivers. Not only because of the proximity of the walls and the concentration needed to keep it out of them on such a difficult street circuit, but also because of the humid conditions. The drivers lose a lot of weight around a race like this. The driver with the most wins around Singapore is Sebastian Vettel with 5, and Ferrari have the most constructors' wins. There are 19 official corners and some unofficial that still require attention, especially heading down towards the bridge. George Russell knows well about corners just jumping out at you. Just look at last year. There are actually 3 DRS zones on the track. One down the pit straight, which is fairly short, but the longest one leads to the end of Sector 1 between turns 5 and 7. The last DRS zone is much shorter and after the bridge between turns 13 and 14. But wait, I said there were 3 DRS zones, and there were. But Formula 1 has decided to add a 4th this season, this time between turns 14 and 16. I'll talk more about that in a minute. The last winner around Singapore is actually Carlos Sainz, after a really close and interesting race last year where multiple drivers could have won. Sainz did a masterclass of defending to stay ahead. You'll remember when he kept the drivers behind in DRS intentionally. This weekend, the Pirelli tyre offerings are the C3, C4 and C5 tyres, the softest available in the Pirelli range. Let's talk weather. I've seen a few reports of it being very wet this weekend, but my forecast doesn't say that. It seems to be dry based on what I can find. The weather in Singapore is pretty unpredictable though, so bear that in mind. Let's talk liveries for a second and 2 very different approaches. Red Bull were meant to have a special livery for this weekend's race, then also for Austin after the break. They have now decided to abandon those plans though, purely because of weight. They're struggling right now, and they felt the extra weight of the paint needed for those special liveries was not something they could justify. To be fair, when they planned these liveries, they were stomping everyone, so an extra few grams wasn't an issue. Now though, they need the points, so no special liveries. Mercedes, on the other hand, they do have a special livery this weekend to celebrate their long partnership with Petronas. More of the light blue or turquoise. I don't really know how to say that word, but it's one of those colours to replace some of the silver, and it looks pretty nice. Then the new DRS zone. Is it needed? Will it improve the racing? If they're going to add another DRS zone between turns 14 and 16, with 15 not really even being a corner, they could have removed the DRS zone on the straight before because it's quite short anyway. But this straight is quite long as we no longer go through the stadium section, so let's see how it plays out. I'm expecting a big fight this weekend between Ferrari and McLaren based on what we saw in Baku. With Red Bull being very close, they're anticipating they could be in the fight. Mercedes were quick around here last year as well, so we could be in for a good race. I'll see you there.